Hi, and welcome to today's topic, which is the metaphysics and emotional stress behind insomnia. Now, this condition surfaces when you have difficulty initiating sleep and also maintaining sleep and waking up, for example, too early or experiencing chronically non-restorative sleep despite adequate opportunity, for example, to sleep. And later in the video, I will also share a meditation with you that will help you to relieve the symptoms of insomnia and also a quick, powerful exercise that you can do before going to bed. Now, I'm sure that you are full aware that if you didn't sleep well the night before, then you feel very oversensitive towards your environment, especially noises and also interactions with people. And the reason for this is that there is a part of your brain that is responsible for overreacting to your environment. Now, the responsible culprit is the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is also your panic button, and this part of the brain reacts to any possible threats without conscious thought. So when you didn't sleep well, the amygdala becomes almost 60% more reactive when you didn't sleep well. And when you think about the energy that you spend unconsciously overreacting to overstimuli in the brain. Now, the brain is also triggering stress hormones more so than when you, for example, had a good night's sleep. And this starts to take a big toll on your overall well-being of your body. And you also, for example, might feel that your emotions much more strongly. And of course, your temper might also have a much shorter fuse than normal. And also the stress hormones that are being released are also very taxing on your immune system, and it burdens your body's ability to fight off ailments. Now, it also has an impact on your hormonal system. And the importance of sleep is tremendous, as a lack of it can have consequences in every single aspect of your life. And then also, of course, your relationship dynamics. Now, it also begs the question, how much sleep is enough? Now, studies have also shown that between 6 to 8 hours of sleep is the average amount of sleep that's needed that is good for a good night rest. Now, if you oversleep, you can become 33% more prone to developing vascular heart disease, for example. Now, there's also a rule that applies to all aspects in life, and that is that too much of a good thing can also become bad for you. However, if you sleep less than 6 hours, your chances of actually developing vascular heart disease increases by almost 11%. So do keep in mind that these statistics are also valid for people suffering from insomnia. So if you have the occasional bad night, then I can say that you're probably in the safe zone. But let's discuss the deep underlying conscious and unconscious stress behind insomnia. When you have so many racing thoughts, then of course it increases anxiety, as the mind is processing them at the same time and also seeking, for example, solutions to most of these racing thoughts. Or it could also be that it's as a result of unresolved arguments that the mind is trying to resolve. Now, these negative thoughts are also triggering stress hormones, which releases cortisol into the body. Now, this cortisol becomes trapped in the body, and the stress cycle continues to renew, as after every 20 minutes, the body tries to reset the nervous system and calm the body down if the stressful event has passed. However, now, the racing thoughts continue, right? So a new cycle filled with stress hormones releases, and now the body continues to stay in a continued state of distress. And in some cases, this state can actually also cause the body to go into a fight or flight reaction, leaving the body on alert, defensive, and also on the lookout for danger, even though you might be in your bed safely in your room. Now, as you might also have experienced firsthand, it's not easy to fall asleep when you are in a state of stress. Right? You may be angry with someone due to an incident. You were not able, for example, to process or let go of a stressful event that took place during the day. Now you've been treated perhaps also in a way that felt unfair to you. And this is now also causing you to feel a lot of deep resentment. Right? Stubbornness also seems to also sabotage now your understanding in this matter. And you are quite resistant to change. And you may also sabotage new transitions that you're trying to move through. Now, you could also, for example, not trust what you cannot see, right? Your need to control your environment makes you feel safe as you don't trust anymore. And this condition is often related to a prolonged labor birth actually as well, prolonged labor trauma. And in the book, you can refer to the birth section. It's a big book. There's a lot about that there, and also about insomnia. And you can refer to the prolonged labor section for much more in-depth information. Now, insomnia also boils down to your body not feeling safe. A thought could be triggering a thinking pattern that now sets off stress hormones, and as a result, you're not going to relax. Even though consciously that is exactly what you need. And even though consciously you intend to relax, you intend to be calm. However, your body is not in alignment with your conscious decision and intention. Now, erasing thoughts from the day or from the past could also be the root cause of insomnia. And it could also be a symptom of a much deeper rooted problem. Now, you might have a negative association perhaps also with darkness. Perhaps something even bad happened at night and your body now has an association that darkness is danger. So, you might consciously not recall what actually happened, but unconsciously the mind is reacting so strongly to the darkness. However, your inability to fall asleep as a result now of the body feeling unsafe to fall asleep. Now, insomnia could also be related to a strong ancestral memory that was triggered. Perhaps something bad happened to an ancestor while they were sleeping, or they were, for example, caught off guard that left them in a traumatized state. And this experience is now imprinted in the genetic makeup. Now, as the body is also trying to stay alive, right, it forms an association around darkness, that it is not safe when the lights go out, and I have to be ready to defend myself. It could also be that you are overworked, right, having to provide, having to work at all costs. For example, it could also even be to prove a caretaker wrong about your capabilities. Wanting to work hard to change your circumstances in order to get out of them. So in this case, you are also already very stressed and working hard, for example. You lock in the pattern in your biological makeup that you need this stress in order to survive, right? So you create change where it's, for example, needed. Now, this stress has helped many people to achieve success. But it is when you, for example, start to form an association with the stress and also with the success that it becomes a problem. As you stay locked into this pattern, as you are always striving for success in life, which means that unconsciously you always need the stress in order to achieve exactly that. So if you relax, you will fail, which in contrary is actually the opposite. Right? If you are relaxed, you're actually more focused and you are much more aware of details than you would have, for example, missed in a state of distress. So when you are stressed, you are actually focused on a specific outcome or a goal. But when you are relaxed, you are more able to become consciously aware of even more details that could lead to you having easier solutions to any perceived problems that you have, that you probably most likely would have missed if you were too stressed, because you were so focused on a specific outcome. Now, insomnia could also become, for example, a strong unconscious secondary gain, as it could actually shield you from feeling feelings in your day-to-day life that you don't want to feel. So, for example, racing thoughts and also emotions that are distracting you from feeling deeper pain points in your life. So, as a result, you become hooked on the drama and the emotional chaos that is being caused by the insomnia. Because now, instead of fighting against all pain points that you don't want to feel, instead, you're fighting against fatigue and an oversensitivity to your environment. Now, a second part to insomnia and associations that you can have with sleep. For example, let's say as a child you were forced to sleep at certain hours when you were actually not tired. And now you associate rest with rebel and also boredom. Right? So rest could also be, for example, now equal feeling isolated and feeling cut off from excitement that is taking place in your environment. And also, for example, FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, especially during your childhood years. So as an adult, when you go to bed and you see the sheets, you see the pillow, you see the bed, it can unconsciously trigger the fears and the emotional discomfort that you felt as a child, bringing life again to these old feelings. And as a result, You're kept awake by the nervousness and the stress that you felt when you had to go to sleep as a child. Now, I also want to move on to, for example, dealing now with insomnia. And then I will also discuss key points and also the meditation that can support you and help you to release the symptoms of insomnia. Now we will also look at insomnia and finding healthy focus in your life again, right? Focus is incredibly important. Because if your focus is on subjects and also on memories that causes you stress, then your physical body will respond in a stress and defensive manner. And if your focus is on positive memories and also on positive thoughts, then your body will not respond in ways where it, for example, releases the stress hormones. Now, another method of focus is to focus on one positive thing. For example, do you remember the last time when you were so deep in thought? You were so deep in thought that you completely dissociated from your immediate environment, right? And then, for example, like a loud bang or someone calling your name, perhaps then snapped you out of that. And in that moment, it brought you back into the present moment. You were so zoned in that if I had to ask you what happened around that time, then your mind was so focused on something completely else. You probably wouldn't even remember what snapped you out of that. Now, this, of course, is an ideal state of trance to move into as you exclude all your other thoughts that's trying to dominate your mind and also your thoughts. Now, ultimately with insomnia is that you want peace, one way or another, right? And you want peace, and it just begs the question, peace from what? Now, many of you can probably already answer this question on the spot. And if you can't, then I invite you to go through my free online healing guided session, which is advertisement 3 at www.guidedhealingsession.com. And you can start to unravel the deep root unconscious fears and stress behind your insomnia. Now let's also look at, for example, when you are sleeping deeply, your brain will be moving from a beta, alpha, and then theta state. And then finally, the delta brainwave state. So ultimately, the goal is to achieve this delta brainwave state. And this state will be fully active in your brain, and it will be naturally induced when you sleep. However, there are also safe and creative ways to activate this brainwave state consciously in order to help keep your mind to move into that beautiful, nice, deep, peaceful, sleepy state. Because the delta brainwave state has an amplitude of only 1.5 to 4 cycles per second, whereas our average daytime brainwaves is normally ranges from 15 to 40 cycles per second. Right? So also an interesting note is that your brain is actually also an electrochemical organ that actually generates as much as 10 watts of electrical power. So we want the brain to start to slow down all that activity so that you can have a very comfortable and peaceful rest. Now let's look at key points whether you can explore with the Metaphysical Anatomy Healing Technique or any modality of your choice. You will most likely find yourself complaining about chattering in your head. For example, like endless conversations with others. Resolving boundary issues often resolves around this problem. You know, you might find yourself thinking of situations and times where you should have said no, or you're realizing now that if you acted or said certain things, and certain things would have not happened that you didn't want to happen. So ultimately, regardless of what that is, what you want to do is give all those thoughts a voice and just let them all randomly speak. Let go of needing to even understand what these voices are saying. Just let them speak. Right? And also explore what you really need to say. There's something in you that needs to come out. It wants to come out, but it's not coming out. What is that? So for example, feel where in your body do you feel the stress of this urgency or this need to say something. And then you're going to pretend, you're going to be playful, you're going to connect to that part of where you feel that in your body, and you're going to give it a voice. And if it could speak or shout something, what would it be? Now, what would also happen if you just allowed yourself to be still and to feel safe? How would that make you feel? Explore what causes you to feel so anxious, so restless, and also so on guard. For example, you also could have experienced a childhood where moods and actions were very unpredictable, making it dangerous and unsafe to relax and to switch off. This is normally the most common point for people suffering from insomnia. So explore also the ancestry line. For example, explore if there was war trauma. Was there severe abuse or trauma where unexpected verbal or physical force was used to control people? Now it also begs the next question, what are you dwelling on? For example, what has been bugging you? Who or what are you trying to make sense of? And how does it make you feel that you cannot make sense of that? That is the emotional charge that you want to release. Now, which influential person also, for example, could have punished you when they lost control of a situation or you failed to actually complete a task? Also explore how this made you feel. Now, you may also have made an association with working and also being afraid of making a mistake and needing to be in control in order to avoid making a mistake. Another point to look at is by whom or what do you feel threatened by? If you relaxed, who do you feel would then dominate you? Even if that person is not in your life anymore, the memory of that is so strong that it could actually be causing you to have sleepless nights. Now, another popular question that I love to ask my clients is, what would you have to feel if you didn't have the racing thoughts to distract you from that you don't want to feel? Another point is, this condition could also, for example, be related to domestic abuse, right? And this can include emotional, physical, or neglect as well. So do also explore these environmental factors, even though it might not have happened to you. Just witnessing it on a regular basis in your environment is enough for it to become a traumatic moment. And so, of course, also, did you experience a trauma, for example, during nighttime? If yes, then explore this and also explore the association that you made with darkness, that you made with sleeping, and that you made with feeling safe while trying to sleep. Another interesting point here as well is, do you have discernment over which thoughts are yours and which thoughts belong to other people? Right, so explore trauma, for example, associated with these other foreign thoughts, such as parents, shouting, harsh words to you, people's opinions being shared to you, and these voices now playing over and over again in your mind. Another interesting point here as well is to explore your early infant stages. For example, you could have felt wrapped too tightly in a blanket, right? And if that is the case, then for example, how did that make you feel? And so now for the meditation. So you can go to www.insomniameditation.com and download your free Healing Insomnia Symptoms. So until next time, be the light that you are.